$50 million in 2011. In 2008, Trombetta created Avanti Management Group, which was a for-profit consulting company that provided education management support. A substantial majority of Avanti's income came from NNDS through a management contract. Avanti's revenues increased from about $900,000 in 2008 to more than $9.2 million in 2011. So to restate, NNDS provides management services and curriculum to PA Cyber. Avanti provided management support to NNDS, and all of these entities exist and survive on public funds. The indictment alleges that Avanti is owned by 4 strong partners. Each was recruited by Trombetta and served as a placeholder for Trombetta, who advised before that he would leave PA Cyber eventually and run Avanti. At that time, he was to assume an 80% share, and the so-called on-paper owners would drop their shares from 25% to 5% in exchange for a payment of $500,000 each. Trombetta made all of the company's decisions. You may liken Avanti to Trombetta's savings account or his intended retirement account. Using Avanti and a subsidiary, Trombetta arranged to purchase and manage real estate, including 2 houses, a $933,000 condominium in Florida, and a $300,000 twin-engine plane, principally for the benefit of Trombetta himself. Another fraudulent scheme that we have charged in the indictment involved the Buckeye Online School for Success, or BOSS, and an entity known as Wingspan. BOSS was founded by Nicholas Trombetta and others in 2003 and is an Ohio-based cyber education provider. Wingspan and Wingspan New Mexico were involved with Trombetta to promote and sell online education to school districts in New Mexico with a significant number of Native American students. If Avanti served as Trombetta's retirement account, the entity known as 1-to-1, founded in 2006 by Nick Trombetta and his sister Elaine, operated as Trombetta's checking account for his day-to-day expenses. For example, Trombetta used an ATM debit card to access funds in the 1-to-1 account to pay for personal expenses, including grocery bills, restaurant charges, personal travel, and other personal expenditures. Using 1-to-1, Trombetta used influence over PA Cyber, NNDS, Avanti, BOSS, Wingspan, and others to covertly channel money to himself and to others. Trombetta used his influence and control over employees of PA Cyber and NNDS to have them perform work for out-of-state companies, BOSS in Ohio and Wingspan in New Mexico, and then recouped payment from these companies to himself by having the money deposited to the 1-to-1 account. Trombetta and his sister had the use and enjoyment of more than $440,000 that flowed through the 1-to-1 bank account from payments made by Wingspan and BOSS for services which were actually provided by the nonprofit PA Cyber and NNDS employees. The 3 checks mailed to 1-to-1 in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, as payment for services actually performed by PA Cyber and NNDS employees constitute mail fraud as alleged in the indictment. Trombetta also employed a kickback scheme for his personal benefit. As a nonprofit education charter, PA Cyber entered into contracts for goods and services on behalf of its students, including the purchase of computers. The indictment explains that Trombetta accepted payments in excess of $550,000 in the form of a $50 per computer kickback from 2009 through 2011. Finally, the indictment alleges that Trombetta and Neil Prince conspired together and with others, including Elaine Trombetta Neal, to impede the IRS from computing and collecting accurate taxes. The object of the conspiracy was to conceal the source and amount of Trombetta's income by diverting income to Avanti and to one-to-one. This was done to conceal his obvious conflict of interest as the controlling party on both sides of the transactions and to defraud the IRS from collecting taxes. Throughout the conspiracy, Trombetta also caused employees of Avanti and their spouses to make financial contributions to political candidates of his choosing. When employees made these contributions from their own accounts, they were reimbursed from funds of Avanti. As part of the conspiracy and to mask the true nature of the income, Prince and Trombetta also caused income attributable to him from one-to-one to be reported on the federal tax returns of his sister. In addition, the returns included inflated expenses. Prince and Trombetta also caused income attributable to Trombetta from Avanti to be reported on the 2010 and 2011 tax returns of the four straw owners of Avanti. Prince prepared the federal income tax returns for Trombetta from 2006 to 2011, which understated Trombetta's income. The indictment alleges that from 2006 to 2012, Trombetta and Prince shifted more than $8 million of income attributed to Trombetta to the tax returns of others, delaying his sister and the straw owners, so that Trombetta's true income was concealed from the taxing authorities. As taxpayers, we should understand that diverting income earned by a taxpayer to the return of another taxpayer is illegal under the tax code. Tax returns are signed under oath, and it is illegal because it cheats the other law-abiding taxpayers by altering the tax burden. Counts 7 through 11 in the indictment allege that Trombetta filed false tax returns for 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, and 2011. Trombetta funneled and ultimately used for his own personal gain approximately $990,000 through the use of NMDS, Avanti, and one-to-one. The indictment seeks forfeiture of this amount. This case was investigated by the FBI, the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, and the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Inspector General. Nick Trombetta and Neil Prince surrendered to the FBI yesterday. They made their initial appearances in federal court and were released on $50,000 unsecured bond. They will be arraigned on August 28th at 10 a.m. For Trombetta, the law provides a maximum sentence of 100 years in prison and a fine of $3.25 million. Prince faces up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. A bill of information charging Elaine Neal Trombetta with filing a false tax return was filed on Friday, August 2nd. She is expected to waive indictment and plead guilty on October 8th at 2:30 before Judge Conte. This indictment is the product of a lengthy and comprehensive investigation done jointly by our partners. While these charges are announced today, the investigation is continuing. I'm going to invite the leaders of these organizations to speak to you, and then we will take your questions.
Good morning. My name is Doug Perdue. I'm the Special Agent in charge of the FBI here in Pittsburgh. We are pleased to announce today the indictments and arrest of Nicholas Trombetta and Neil Prince. Charter schools are funded with public money that is intended to help educate children in our communities. When individuals enrich themselves with this money rather than act as stewards of the education funds entrusted to them, our communities and the children we are obligated to educate are the true victims. The FBI, along with the United States Attorney's Office and our partners with the Department of Education, Inspector General, and the IRS, has and will continue to aggressively pursue schemes involving the theft of education funds. We invite the public to report information concerning the misappropriation of education funds to the FBI through the Public Corruption Hotline at 412-432-4122. And again, the Public Corruption Hotline is 412-432-4122. Thank you.
Special Agent in charge of IRS Criminal Investigation, Philadelphia Field Office, speaking to you today on behalf of our Western Pittsburgh Division. Today's indictment demonstrates the collective efforts of our law enforcement partners with the United States Attorney's Offices, the FBI, and the Department of Education. Each of these agencies play an important role in enforcing the law and ensuring public trust. During this investigation, the role of the IRS criminal investigation has been significant and vital to the overall success of the case. IRS special agents diligently tracked countless complex financial transactions and ultimately exposed a massive tax fraud scheme undertaken by the founder and chief executive officer of Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School and Prince CPA LLC. Today, Nicholas Trombetta and CPA Neil Prince were indicted on charges of conspiracy to impede and impair the lawful functions of the IRS for over a 6-year period that began in 2006. Mr. Trombetta was also indicted on charges of filing false personal tax returns for the years 2007 through 2011. During the time of the conspiracy, Mr. Trombetta, with the assistance of CPA Prince, intentionally concealed his position as the direct beneficiary and recipient of funds generated by Pennsylvania Cyber. Keeping in mind that Pennsylvania Cyber is a public entity funded by local, state, and federal revenues, Mr. Trombetta controlled